Hello and welcome to the Mall Street Journal, the American Rugby Pod that brings you all the latest news and reviews for MLR, the WER, the women's and the men's Eagles, and you know what, whatever else that we can find as we cast our eyes across the USA rugby landscape. We are part of the Global Game Land Network and can be found on all your usual platforms, including YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes. So if you haven't already, give us a like or subscribe, tell a couple of friends about us, or you know what, grab a gold brick, wrap it up in a signed Hope Rogers jersey, and just chuck it through my window. That would be great. This is episode 8. You may recall that I'm David Lawrence. I'm joined once again by our full team. Coming to us back from San Antonio, it's Kolya. Kolya, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. Little mind numbing from teacher in service, but happy to talk rugby.
Last week, we opened up with What Are You Listening To? But I'm kind of pulling a switcheroo out of the blue here. Kolya, what have you been watching this week, apart from training videos?
So, apart from training videos, trying to catch up on Disney's Star Wars Andor,
Oh,
the only decent Star Wars thing that Disney
You
has.
are you are speaking the language of a lot of folks who I make grudgingly listen to our podcast, so they're going to be very happy to hear that. Across the board. Oh no, across the board. I've heard only good things, and from people who also mutter like for how crappy everything else has been. They're like, no, loving Andor. So much so that it's put it on my list as a very, very diehard Trekkie myself.
interesting.
Absolutely
But,
to give it a go.
I didn't know that. My partner just started
Yeah,
watching Andor, and she's trying to convince me. It sounds like it's going to happen.
I think we kind
Of
of have to
course,
now.
also coming to us from the town that Lisa Simpson's once referred to as the cesspool on the Potomac, it's Rugby Julia. Julia, how the heck are you?
I mean, listen, I don't know if you've cracked open the news lately, but she might be right.
Mhm.
Julia, what have you been watching this week?
Hmm. This week, you did throw me a switcheroo. I was thinking so much about what I was going to say for what are you listening to?
Aha.
Um, oh no, now I feel terrible because I am watching something with my wife, and now I forget what we're watching because I'm on the
Just go with
spot.
Walking Dead. You can at any time you can always say The Walking Dead.
No, I actually
No.
haven't seen it, and she said that she only watched it grudgingly because her brother made her, basically.
Mm.
Um, we're catching up on something, and I'm trying to remember what it is. You know what? I think I'll probably not make any enemies. And since it is what I most recently watched, not what I'm watching, but most recently watched was John Oliver. So why not John
Oh,
Oliver?
okay.
Like I said, it's not going well.
Fortunately, there's no chance in hell your wife's going to listen to this, so I think you're okay.
It's true. Actually, just earlier today, she was telling me that she listened to the intro one and she was like, I love you so much. And your friends seem so nice. She was like, I got through like, she was like a half of it and I was like a third of it. She was like, yeah, a third. And she was like, and so I didn't know any names you were saying or any things that you were saying. And it sounded really dramatic for something I didn't care about. So bless her for that long,
My
honestly.
partner still downloads all my episodes just so I can get the listens.
Just so you can get the listens. And that's what I asked her. And she said, absolutely. And I think now she is running them through on silent during her workday.
That's the way to go.
Listen,
Uh,
I'll take it.
for myself, I bit the bullet and signed up once again for BritBox. So I've been binging 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown, a truly bizarre but utterly addictive quiz show. I highly recommend that one.
It's true. And also for listeners who may be on the fence, BritBox is one of my guaranteed gifts to my parents every year that is always a hit. If anybody
Oh,
else, yeah, my parents adore
that's brilliant.
BritBox. Yeah, and if you have parents of a certain age, they absolutely hate figuring out subscriptions. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was just
Oh,
like, I'm
that's
gonna
a
put it on your TV. I'm gonna come over. I'm gonna put it on your TV. I did all that. Make sure, all the passwords are in, like for sure. And like if the numbers come to me, I'll do the
huge pro tip.
numbers.
And now, if my dad's birthday was literally yesterday, so I officially blew it. I've got
What
364 more days to get it right.
what did you get for your dad? Or I don't know if you
Nothing.
guys, because I was gonna
No,
say, because
they're
also,
they're
yeah,
trying to get rid of
yeah,
stuff at this point, not getting new
exactly.
stuff. Yeah, I
I was
usually
gonna
leave
say
the
the
house with some random thing.
I was just gonna say the only reason that it works is because they're like, this doesn't take up any room in my house. And oh my God, so we're all at the age now, whenever you visit your parents, if you're lucky to visit your parents, you just leave with a piece of furniture. For me, I leave with food that is quote gonna go bad.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thankfully, in my smaller home, I have room for it. I
Yeah,
did
this time it
also.
was 2 pounds of Maine blueberries and a big stack of pastel paper.
Okay,
Nice
you're
haul.
welcome.
Mhm.
Well, our
Mine was the
tradition, of
table I
course.
did not want. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I had the option for the table and I actually resisted this time.
Yeah.
So our tradition here is to start with some news. I'll toss it over to Kolya as usual. At least we got all the bad news out of the way last week, right?
Well, you'd think, and then as I hinted at last week, the Miami Sharks are no more. So apparently, from what I'm hearing, the Miami Sharks went over to MLR and said, we are going to suspend for 2026, but we want guarantees that will be allowed back in 2027. And
Okay.
MLR said no.
Oh, never mind.
And MLR said no, and so Miami said goodbye.
So
They're-
weird.
Why?
yeah.
But so then why are they, and this is a dumb person question, but in case anybody else doesn't know. So why was that allowed to be even postulated for NOLA, if not for Miami? What is there a difference? Because NOLA also said the same thing, and they're
Hmm.
still, to as far as we know, waffling. It seems like everybody who knows is agreeing that like it's
Yeah.
probably not just 1 year,
Yeah.
but their official line is still that it's a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe
So
because they were a founding team.
so I
Okay.
think I
Okay.
I think the difference is that NOLA would have to reapply
Hmm.
for the league.
So are they saying to Miami essentially you can't even reapply?
Like you can reapply, but we
Oh,
won't
okay.
save your spot.
Gotcha. Oh,
Right,
I
right.
see. Yeah, you'll
I
have to
see.
wait.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah,
wait.
that is what I'm hearing. It could be completely wrong, but that is what I'm hearing from some people in the know
Well, so
or
that
who
begs the
should be in the
question
know.
then, is MLR expecting that another team will make a bid that is not currently an MLR team? Because the only thing that I can think of with saving a space is we expect somebody to be applying. And I can't think of anybody off the top of my head that's ready to go.
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna save a space for anyone because there's not a set number of spaces, you know?
They're just going to restructure
Yes.
the league. Okay, I see. So yeah,
I
so then
think.
yeah, just restructure it. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Um,
I also wonder if there's some anger about the Sharks kind of pulling this because after we had lost like New York and Toronto, I'm told that there was very much like when new ownership is applying, it was very much like a, hey, listen, we don't want this again. You're not going to make any money. If you think you're going to make money, look somewhere else. You need to be prepared to take a
it's the
bath
wrong
for
idea.
many years in a row. And then Miami comes along and they get awarded the franchises and they're like, never mind. I can imagine some hurt feelings over that.
Well, that was going to be my question was then how did Miami happen at all? Because the way that Miami is set up compared to, for example, compared to NOLA in terms of like Miami looks more like slide slide by like a little slipshod. It could come or go. It's one billionaire owner.
Mhm.
That looks less solid to me than an owner group.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I do have some good news tangentially related to NOLA, but I'm going to save that for Grassroots.
Oh, yay. Okay.
Yeah.
And by the way, have any of you checked? Is Miami merch now completely gone? Is it
I
heavily
haven't checked. I was
discounted,
just gonna
or is
do.
it twice as much?
I have not seen. On the topic of merch, however, after our podcast last week where we talked about how teams need to start selling non just shop MLR merch, the
Mm,
Houston SaberCats now have a link up that shows pictures of new merch.
really?
However, the link
Okay.
takes you to a website that has nothing. So maybe they are building something.
Huh. I was gonna make some sort of extinct joke there, but gosh, not gonna go there.
Hope
Um,
not.
so
All right.
Julia,
Well, it's
do,
not as
do,
it's not as funny or fun or anything, but it's all on sale. It's all on sale in the shop. All the
is it
Miami
really?
stuff.
Some of the Miami stuff, gotta kind of like it.
Sorry, what
Um,
was your
Yeah.
question?
Yeah, I say Miami made a big mistake. Like of all the teams when they went to ESPN Plus, Miami's the one that lost the most. Because if you watched Miami on the Rugby Network. They had two great commentators who were clearly just local rugby guys.
Oh.
I love Homer teams, so I would
Yeah,
relate to that.
yeah, and they were and they just go 15 minutes into the match and then start talking about what they're doing at their club and forget about the match and then come
So
back to it 10
anyway,
minutes later.
Did somebody just score?
hmm,
I think sadly history will show that the Free Jacks lost every game in Miami in the history of their franchise.
I'm curious, but not curious enough about DC. I mean, like, I'm from there, but at what cost?
Well, Brian Ray, speaking of DC, on America's Rugby News, he described MLR as being in quote crisis mode unquote after this announcement. Julia,
So that was where I
is that the language you would use? Do you think that's
Well,
accurate?
that was where I was going to go because I don't have that insider knowledge like you two have. I've kind of just been skimming the comments or the commentary that I've been seeing because I am really curious what the American rugby ecosphere is saying. Obviously, I'm kind of okay, not surprising anybody, but just to give a lay of the land. Of course, folks in Europe, in South Africa, Australia, New Zealand are saying, of course, this is indicative of America's inability to keep up a pro league. Yes, of course. I'm going to quickly acknowledge that people are saying that they are people who are patently against our cause and don't want to support us. So that said, crisis, I mean, so I come to this as a fan of several women's pro sports who have more recently undergone very similar turmoil, even the ones that are now super established, like for example here in America, NWSL and WNBA. Both of those have not that long ago faced this sort of thing. And yes, of course, everybody's first response is that it's the death knell. This is over. I don't think that's the case, to be honest. No, I crisis insofar as to lose two teams, one of which was storied, one that really matters to the infrastructure of the league. Um Another one that like every team matters, but like you answered for me, you can restructure. And every major league that we've seen has gone through restructuring. And it's not that it's good, but I feel like rather than this being a crisis, it's more just a passing commentary on the franchise structure, um, which it for the time being it looks like MLR is always going to follow. We're not going to, change the way that teams are funded. And if that keeps being the way, if you have teams, and by the way, this isn't the first time that it's Miami Sharks. What happened there is not the first time that happened. We have the Giltinis and the Gilgronis. Same. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, different path of events. Same.
Slightly different.
Right.
Yeah.
Different path of events. Same ultimate judgment in terms of the governing body.
Mhm.
In terms of their decision on what happens with you and your spots. And to that, I don't know. I'm not ready to call it a pan or like a crisis so much just because like two doesn't collapse it. We're about to talk about, and Kolya already has referenced that a third is in the crosshairs. Yeah. Three would really start to be worrying. And I know that, it's likely that that third will happen, but until it does, I'm not ready
It's
to panic
interesting.
yet.
Just on Monday, I got to have another conversation with Harry Jones, and he seemed utterly unconcerned by these developments. And part of his job is being a rugby fixer, and he was like,
Yes.
"Yeah, this is what you call growing pains." He didn't seem worried at all, and he made the point that we're still doing one thing very right, which is not getting a sugar daddy, not finding someone to come along and throw a bunch of money at it and say, "We'll worry
That's
about that later."
That's exactly what I meant by the franchising model is you grow and you evolve.
Yeah.
And that's what you want from the league. Maybe if in another year or two we see even more dropouts without
Yeah.
replacements, without new
Yeah.
models being built. Okay. But
Yeah.
no.
I mean, we're back
It's
to the original number, and
Well,
right.
well,
It's by the way,
we're one over the original number.
and it's very rugby culture to panic at what are really in like the grander scheme of things drops in your bucket.
Yes.
This is a big drop. Like, absolutely, these are going to be causing ripples. A bunch of guys are losing their jobs. This sucks. It's also, unfortunately, has implications for the USA level players and their development. Of course, that matters. All of this matters very much. This is where a lot of the talent plays. But I think they're going to find jobs. I just don't know. I just don't know if it's like a nail in a coffin situation like I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Kolia, sorry, go ahead.
So what I'd like to see is, assuming that Utah survives, is 2 4-team conferences and a focus on domestic players, particularly, and by domestic, not just American, but North American, Northern South America type players, where right now we've got a lot of English, Welsh, Scottish players who come over here for a bit of a quick paycheck before either going back or
retiring.
retiring.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah.
And like San Diego Legion had the whole Ma Nonu thing, but that trying to do the whole David Beckham in LA thing, but Americans knew who David Beckham was because he was married to Posh Spice. Americans don't know who Ma Nonu is.
And there was no Bend It Like Ma movie for us to have seen.
Yes.
Well, I mean,
yeah. So what I'd like is a restructuring, get the salaries a bit more under control, and get a real fit and proper test for the next owners who come into the league.
Yeah.
I think there just needs to be more financial investigation.
Yes.
I mean, it's just more due diligence.
Yes.
I mean, to be fair, during the Giltinis and the Gilgronis thing, they did their investigation, and they're in the late in the season. They were like, by the way, we think you're up to some funny business, and he was like, well, you can't see my books, and they were like, you're out.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, Kolia, Brian Ray, he also made the point that given the track record of quickly introducing new teams like Chicago, North Carolina, even, it's still possible there will be an addition before next year. Do you think that's likely? Are you hearing anything?
I have not heard anything. I've heard possibilities for 2027, but nothing more than smoke right now.
I hear people talking about Indianapolis. I hear people talking about Mexico.
Yeah, wow. I've heard a little bit about Mexico.
Mexico, I had heard about. Indianapolis, I hadn't heard at all. Yeah. That's an interesting rugby pocket to tap.
Going back just a minute too, you mentioned concentrating on domestic players. Just for any listeners who don't know, and if either of you don't, it is a funny quirk of MLR that Canadian players do not count as international players because I guess the league was originally kind of a North American league, not a United States league. So like all those Canadian contracts we have on my Free Jacks, those are not filling up our international slots.
That's fantastic. Honestly, like at this point, and I really do, I look across at PWR a lot, and like if MLR were to do something like that, because I was reading about the international cap situation, that it would make sense to drop it. Totally. That seems totally fine to me. That's completely in disconnect with that. That's fantastic. Honestly, bring the Canadians. Why not?
I know, right?
Why not?
So another tough week then on the home front, I guess. Either of you have any more news?
Not really. More to come in Grassroots.
Good. We might end this show on a bit more of an uptick than we're starting with. The big story this week, of course, was our beloved Eagles women taking on the Colossus that is Canada. This was the final tune-up for both teams before the upcoming Rugby World Cup. Eagles started strong, scoring a try in the first 2 minutes and even holding a 3-point lead very late in the second half. However, cliche alert, it was truly a tale of two halves. The Canadians scored 35 unanswered points. Really physical match, some yellow cards handed out on both sides. Canada's victory extended their winning streak over the U.S. to 11 straight games, taking us down 42-10. Julia, do you want to start with this one?
Yeah, sure. You
I almost thought you were going to do a spit take and go, no!
No, you started off really well. It really was a game of two halves. I compared to, and of course we want to be looking match over match now that we're heading up to the World Cup. In terms of compared to the performance against Fiji, I was as happy with this first half as I was with the last first half. I think what we came away, I mean, in different ways, but in terms of the overarching things that we want, like holding off on things like discipline problems, penalties, sorts of things like score, keeping the score as close as possible, considering what we know Canada is capable of. Unfortunately, in the second half, just got away from us. There were ultimately discipline problems. Unfortunately, well, what we were hoping
For
that
both
this match,
sides.
yeah, exactly. And what we were hoping that this match would expose is we're looking at the World Cup. Obviously we always care how we perform against Canada. However, we're not playing against them immediately because we're not in the same pool. So what we are looking at is how we're going to perform in our opening matches. Because what we're really ultimately looking for is just making it out of pool play. So what we were looking at when we were going into Canada was how we would perform. Yes, also our longevity, how we're keeping up fitness wise, because we know Canada is really up there for that. And some of the teams that we are playing are going to be really physically taxing. But yeah, I mean, those are all kind of overview type things in terms of actual performance. We saw kind of the same pattern as we did with Fiji. This team is not yet an 80-minute team. I really think that was what we took away from it. We were texting, well, we texted a little bit after when you were catching up with it, David, and you just saw kind of around 60 minutes is when the wheels came off. Kind of the same idea as even the Japan match, to be honest. Fiji, we did end up winning, but we still lost a lot of cohesion in that second half. And I think what we're seeing now is that we need reform in the attack, and we need to shape some things up. That was what everybody said right after as well, is that the lessons were quite apparent, and at least to take away from a loss like that, at least that there are some solid work-ons. I'm curious what you guys thought though.
Yeah, Collier, what about you? Any positive takeaways?
Yeah, so positives, we scored really quickly, which being away from home was definitely a positive. Our kickoffs looked decent. When we ran the ball off 9, that seemed to work better than if we ran it off 10.
Unfortunately, Caspar Gel had a really great game. I completely
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. And in the first half, we dealt really well with some odd refereeing. So I'm in a chat with a bunch of regional refs,
I'm
and
very curious because I
the
completely
amount
agree.
of like, I wonder what's going through the AR's heads while this center is making these decisions.
Especially considering who the ARs were this time, which I also
Yes,
really
yes,
appreciated.
yes. It like there was a period in the for about 10 minutes of the first half where there were about 5 knock-ons that didn't get called.
Yep, over and over.
Yes.
First things I underlined in my notes.
Yeah, and then Tafu's yellow card that resulted in the penalty try.
Not so
She
sure about
didn't
that
look
one.
offside to me.
Not so sure
I,
about
I
that one.
yeah. I don't like criticizing referees. I've said that
Right.
before.
And none
But
of us want to do
but
it.
it's just it it was some confusing calls,
They
and
weren't consistent at all.
it wasn't consistent. That
Yeah.
that was the big thing. Neg Now there were some definite negatives I picked up on with this match. Speaking of the sloppy play and the yellow cards, the US, when we got lucky from DeGoody making a really, really, really bad decision to do a croc roll, we
Yep.
did nothing that entire
To
yellow
capitalize on
card.
it. No.
And every single
Ugh.
time Canada had a yellow card advantage, they
They could have
scored
put a life
tries.
in it.
They
It
scored
was
tries.
it was
And
really
that's going to destroy your stamina. If you're playing 14 against 15 and the 15 you're going against is a team as physically fit as Canada, by the 55th, 60th minute, your team is not going to exist. And that's
and
basically what
is that
happened.
or is that not exactly what happened?
Yes. Yes.
It
And then,
exhausted us. We didn't capitalize on anything to completely miss a power play like that. Like
yes.
that is very not great.
Yes. And
Yeah.
then my other two little things that I pulled from this were that, and this may have just been a bad game by her, but Hawkins could not kick
Yeah.
in this match.
Yeah.
She,
No.
Everybody has a cold
yes,
game, I guess. I don't know.
yes,
I'm
I think
she,
I've
used to
seen her
that.
have this game
yeah,
before, though.
Mm.
yeah, she was not great in this match. And then there was one thing that I don't want to bring it up because we're going to get a bunch of comments,
Now you have to.
but Ilona Maher in the first half was an absolute disaster.
Absolute disaster. It's okay to say it. I feel like it's
Yes,
okay because we're talking about everybody's.
yes. So she kept popping up at first receiver, which she probably shouldn't be doing.
No, I
Yeah.
think that is an artifact from sevens. I think that that's muscle
Yes,
memory
yes.
because it kept happening.
And there was the thing that sh shot out to me as a giant red flag was she gives away a holding on penalty where two of her players are behind her yelling at her. One of them, I think it might have been Bargel, is literally tapping on her to tell her to stop. And she continues holding on. The ref calls the
The
advantage
ref
for
called
holding
it was the
on,
problem.
and she continues to hold on to the ball.
It was, and it really was a series of some really lax discipline. Because I know I'm really trying to avoid like getting those comments because we're going to. However, it unfortunately was a really exacerbating piece of action in a
Yes.
string of things. Like
Yeah.
nobody's blaming her for everybody's bad
Yeah, yeah.
discipline. It
It
was
was a
an
really bad
unfortunate.
thing
It
in
was
the
an
middle of a
unfortunate
series of
piece
bad
of
things.
bad
Yes.
discipline.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes. This
She
was
Exactly.
did.
probably
And that really just comes with like playing with the line a lot, and that's not there yet.
yes. And this it was probably her worst US match. This was her worst match playing for the US that I've seen. She A lot of our attacking play would fall apart when it got to her. And that is something that can grow with time, but I don't know if we have enough time
We
before
don't.
now in the World Cup.
Right.
That's the problem. And that was really the only point people like me have ever tried to make.
This is literally what you've been saying for the entire time I've known you, Julia.
That's really it. And it kills me because I also have a lot of really positive things to say. For example, I do feel like over and over, she does prove that she brings to defense something that a lot of people who also play her shirt will never be able to bring. And
Correct.
that's fantastic. And that's fantastic. Um, However, all we're talking about is a cohesive performance with a whole back line, and that's really been our complaint the whole time. And especially mine has only ever been about the ability to integrate into a 15's back line. It's completely different from sevens, and that's really the only point I've ever tried to make is that
Mhm.
Well,
it's different
here's a question for
and
for
you need
both of
more
you.
time with it. That's all.
As coaches, because they talked to the head coach and he said, well, I don't want to put her out in the wing because I'm worried she'll disappear. He wants her playing in the centers because he thinks it's a
I
better
think that
opportunity for her just to get involved and to do more of the things she's good at. Is he entirely wrong? Like, what's your
I'm
take on
sorry.
that?
I still don't believe that that is true. I'm sorry. I do know that it was part of the negotiation. Like, it doesn't matter if people don't like that or whatever. I do know that it was part of the negotiations that she would not play on the wing. You can go back to her time. You can go back to her time at Bears when she was put on the spot by TNT, unfortunately, because they didn't understand the dynamics. Where they were just like, well, you got to go out on center and like now you're back at wing. How do you feel about that? And she was just like, this isn't my happy place. Like, I'm never gonna choose to play on the wing. And yes, it was part of the contractual agreement for coming to 15s that would make it worth her time, and to her time is the centers. Okay. The silent trade-off where there was supposed to be like, all right, you've got
By
to
the
step
way,
up and you've got to learn this.
why would she do that? Why would she insist upon that? I feel like there aren't many rugby
Because
players
she
who say
does
that.
not like playing on the wing. She's right. He is right that he would lose her. That's true. Wings complain about that all the time. Coley will tell you absolutely.
Yes.
The winger's main complaint is that they don't touch the ball. People do
Except
not feel that.
then that's why they talk about wingers who need to have that thing where
But
they go find work. Josh Adams
right,
is a
but
player
then,
who finds work.
but I was going to say,
Was a
do you
player who
feel
finds
Was a player that
do,
finds work.
do you feel that Jazz Joyce doesn't find work? Do you find that Portia Woodman-Wycliffe doesn't find work? Do you find that Tessier, when she plays on the wing, doesn't find work? That's not true. Mpimpy, I'm thinking about, who is always in 11 whenever I see him. I don't
Yeah,
feel like he doesn't find work or glory. It's not true. It is harder to find glory at 11
I
or
see.
14. That's true. Um, and in 15s, it is very hard. And I only harken back to this because it is something that she has said herself out loud with her mouth on socials in public. She doesn't like rote running. She does like something where you get to do a little bit of crash. And that's absolutely true that it's 12 and 13. If that's the case, that's absolutely where you belong. And that's why Alev plays there instead of on the wing when she's also a sevens player. And Chetta does play on the wing.
Yeah.
You can distill all of these, how they all ended up where they ended up, from sevens. It's not a conspiracy against anybody's favorite player. It's just how you convert positions between the two codes. And if you want to switch into the centers and 15s, generally, and I say this only because there's a lot of evidence, Alev Kelter, Lisa Thompson, the Ménager, Marie Ménager on France, the ones who have transitioned from sevens back to 15s are ones who have like seriously left sevens and like
Yeah, center is a hard position to learn.
hard one to learn. It's not
And
just about being big, smashy, and also fast. Cool,
yes.
but you also have another role. Sorry, go on.
Yes, and what I worry right now is that she's kind of just been given a free role, that she's not actually playing at center, she's playing at wild card.
Yeah.
That is
I don't know.
fascinating that you say
I don't
that,
know
and
if either
you've
of you care
never
about
heard me say that, but I have said before. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
there was the Miami Dolphins had a player, what was his name? Jason Taylor, something like that. He started as a middle linebacker, but he was one of these people who was so talented and so brainy that he just could see the whole field. And so at one point, his coach literally just said, "I'm inventing a new position for you. We're calling you Monster Man. That is your position. At the just before the snap, you decide what you're going to do. I trust you so much that I'm just going to put you out there, and you can go wherever you want." And
Did it
it
work?
almost seems like they've given her. It did,
It
because
did
he was that
work.
good. It did
That's
work.
crazy.
And it really made it hard on the offenses to it, like
Yeah, I
going
was gonna
against him,
say
because you
that's
don't know what
really
you can't read. Yeah,
that's really
And
innovative for football.
it
Yes.
is.
I'd be really interested.
Taking away one of the best defenders and saying, by the way, you're not going to know what he's doing. It was incredible.
Yeah.
So I think they're treating her like that, but I don't think she's a monster man yet.
The potential is absolutely there. Nobody is arguing that
Yes.
there is no
Yes.
ability to. It's just all we are talking about is the timeline leading up to the Rugby World Cup
Yes.
2025.
And I will always say I hugely enjoy watching her smash people.
Everyone loves Smash.
It's so fun.
We're
Yes.
America.
Yes. Yes. Some of the hits she dished
Dead
out
on.
were great. Some of the videos she's put out since have been wonderful.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But right now she's playing in the wrong position.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it
Completely
sounds
agree.
like will be for the foreseeable future.
Yes.
I do like it seems like something we should be able to take advantage of too. Maybe again, this is something if we have more experience. It's obvious to me that other teams, whenever she gets the ball in her hands, other teams are like, don't send one person to tackle her, send two,
Sure.
send three.
Mhm.
We should be taking advantage of that somehow. If one of our players is always getting three people magnetized to her, that should be creating holes that we're taking advantage of.
And that is the major draw of having the 12-13 partnership. Not only just that, like, Alev is very patient, Alev can guide. Having those two together, especially because Alev is always double teamed, just because it's physically impossible to take her down with one person.
Literally.
No, that is fantastic. And that's really what Coley and I were both talking about in terms of taking advantage when you're in the attack. At this time, it doesn't seem like there is an aggressive and cohesive enough plan for the attack, or perhaps an attack that isn't familiar with each other enough to jazz it, to ad lib it in the moment when you need to put together a plan. And that just comes from playing together. And that is a really more of a commentary on USA Rugby as a whole. We don't get to play together that much, no matter what the lineup is. But that said, in order to improvise like that, you need to have Red Rose's level knowledge of each other, that you're in camp together 3 or 4 months out of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to.
Speaking of, can we talk about DeGoody? Because we were
Can we?
confused last week about them playing her at lock.
Yeah.
And I think we figured out why. Did did you did you see this?
No, go on.
It
Please.
completely changed Canada's lineup.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Oh, yeah,
completely
yeah.
changed their
I didn't
lineup.
even. For sure. And I also feel that they also realized that they had to do that with not, and this is a different conversation that we can't dive into from here, but not having Emma Taylor in the selection squad at all,
Mhm.
I think is what led to having to do this. Well, Emma Taylor used to be the number one lineout taker.
Yeah.
Not having her does have to change everything.
Yeah,
It's funny that you teed that up because my next little bit, I was going to say it was obviously a tough day for us, but I think we all have kind of agreed this Canada team is just so likable. It's like weirdly hard to feel too bad about losing to
It's
them.
impossible. Everything they
Like
put out is delightful.
you already mentioned her, like I was so happy to see Sophie de Goody back, starting since
Course.
her significant injury. Kolya, some nice words to our neighbors to the north.
yeah, they are a physically imposing team that knows what they want to do, and they did it very, very well in the second half.
Yep.
Julia, who stood out for you for Canada?
Um, well, I honestly, Sophie stood out in a not great way.
The
That
Crockville.
yeah. I'm sorry. I think that was a complete miscall. I was really disappointed with that.
Yeah.
Especially considering what we then later saw on the same weekend. I think that Marley Packer should have gotten a longer card, but regardless of what we saw in the England-Spain match in terms of at least something being imposed there. So that wasn't fantastic. But in terms of who did stand out, Tessier always stands out. Again, another fantastic game. Um, I'm a huge admirer of Julia Schell. I find her incredibly versatile. I was thrilled with her short performance when she came in. She always has huge impact when she comes onto the field. Jillian Boag, of course, Bogue.
Right.
And I just kept saying Bogue, so maybe I'm completely wrong. But Jillian Bogue, also fantastic
The
game. I always
comms
say that about her
kept
Thursday.
saying sort of at the end, oh, this was a real showcase for Canada's depth. They talked about the way they used the bench. We talked last week about the kind of odd, positions some of these players are playing in. What was Canada trying to learn, and did they do it? Okay, we had a little minor glitch there, but we are all back. Kolya, I want to give it to you because I think you had something to say about the attendance for this particular test.
Yes, so being a US Canada match, Canada really went into the PR for this, went and sold tickets, and it became the largest standalone women's rugby match in North America with 11,453 fans in attendance.
Wow.
Great job to Canada. They
Yeah.
really pushed it. They went all out for it. I think they're really doing all out for this whole World Cup, and it's really lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
They really
so
killed it.
good. I mean, the marketing kind of sells itself.
Yeah.
Want to
It's
see
not
us
hard.
kick
It's
some
not hard when you're
American
number
ass?
2 in Worlds.
Okay. Here is your ESPN style question of the week. I feel like I should do some flashy graphics or like assume an obnoxious voice. Did Canada win this game or did we lose this game?
I'll take it first. I think Canada won this game, to be honest. We did, as we've gone over it a lot. We did kind of lose our momentum. We petered at around 60 minutes, but we had problems from the start. It was a good start. I don't want to take away from it. But in terms of a more complete performance, it was Canada.
Cool, yeah.
Canada won this match. We lost the first half.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's worse to score a try in the first like 2 minutes because then if you
It's off in the death knell.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. You know what? I think I'm going to blow off the ESPN style bit. I think that's usually the least interesting question of the week, and so maybe we give it a miss from here on.
Sounds good.
Okay. I just want to take a moment to remind all of our listeners and viewers that liking and subscribing is the best way to help us grow. If you could just tell a friend or two, that would be smashing. We are part of the Global Gainline Network, and you know what? We're generally lovely people as well to boot. If you want to get in touch, you know what? It's always great to hear from you. Well, each week we like to find some grassroots ruse. That's right, some grassroots news. Cool, yeah. I understand you might have something positive for us.
Yes, so there's two big things. One, we've been alluding to for the runtime of this pod. This weekend is the Club Sevens National Championship here in the US. That is being hosted on the Rugby Network. And I think you had some news about this. Or was that something else?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Did you have news about this, or was that with the?
I think it's
No.
NCRC.
Okay, NCRC.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
When is that, David?
I don't know yet. So
do they not have a date yet? Right.
It's that Wheelsy doesn't have the date. So
okay. He's like, I'll let you know.
The thing we're cryptically alluding to here is Thomas Grant, who works at the Free Jacks. He's been getting into a lot of commentary recently. He was just with our Junior Jacks on their tour to Wales, and he's now back. And in the next couple of weeks, he's going to be starting doing all the comms for the National Collegiate Rugby Championships. The comms will all be in one place, which is actually at sort of the Free Jacks home office in Quincy, but it'll be a different matchup every Friday. And he's agreed to have me come along and shadow him. And I don't know where it's going to go, but I'm really looking forward to it. It should be amazing.
Are you going to stay in the area or are you traveling?
All of it is done at that central location right in Quincy, Mass.
Oh, it's all out of Quincy. Okay, yep. Fantastic.
Yeah, they built the facility, so it's kind of like
MLR
the same way that MLR only has two places where they do the comms from. Indianapolis
being
one of them.
Is it just Denver and Quincy?
I'm not sure exactly, but the NCR is all going to be done from the central location. It sounds to me like Wheelsy got himself a sweet gig for the entire thing. So he was doing some WER too before the DAZN thing. Like that was a huge bummer for him. He did some Banshees games. He was great.
I completely agree. It was a really great performance, and honestly, I'm hoping to get a little bit more update on that. Obviously, WR is kind of halted. A bunch of them are in preseason just because they can be, but a lot of people are in prep for World Cup.
Yeah.
Cool. You had something else for Grassroots, I think, or
second Grassroots. This broke yesterday and is really big news. Loyola University, New Orleans.
I was hoping you would.
Loyola University, New Orleans is making their rugby teams, men's and women's, full sports with scholarships.
Fantastic.
With scholarships starting in 2026.
This is huge news for the region for rugby. A lot of locals in the immediate area to Loyola go for the rugby. So it's
Yeah,
really great news.
and the GM of NOLA Gold, Ryan Fitzgerald, is going to be heading up their whole sport.
That's
Good.
excellent.
I mean,
So not this fall. You couldn't be a scholarship there, a student there in September,
going now, yeah.
but next
But
September.
for next year, scholarships in men's and women's rugby is
Wow.
going to be so great, especially if some other universities start doing the same.
I was going to
Yeah.
say that's absolutely, especially the way the university system within New Orleans works, is there are so many impressionable schools right around there who really don't like to be left behind. Be really great.
Well, Tulane
I was going to say
is
Tulane.
neighbors, literal neighbors. They share a
Yeah.
wall.
Yeah, that was who I was thinking of. I was like, Tulane
Wow.
won't let that settle.
Yeah, Tulane
There's
is
a derby for you.
Yeah. Oh, that would be a lot of fun. I mean, especially, I mean, if anybody has any insight, it would be you. But to whether this could ever go to LSU, that would be huge.
Oh, I would hope right now LSU's athletic department is
Probably not.
in a bit of flux, partly because of the president being forced out by Louisiana's idiot governor.
I was just gonna say you could just say governor, but you can like do it with your face.
Yes.
Because that's what I'm like, because I'm like, governor.
Yes. So the guy who went and got a gas station tiger to bring into LSU's campus because that school refused to bring Mike, their live Bengal tiger, into the stadium because the vet school said he's a tiger. He gets scared of
You shouldn't do that.
90-something thousand people yelling.
You really shouldn't do that.
This governor threw a tantrum, went and got a gas station tiger, brought him into the stadium. LSU's president threw a fit about it, and the governor forced him out, and now he's going to Maryland.
Go Terps.
Or no, not Maryland, Rutgers.
I was gonna say Maryland should be so lucky.
Yeah.
And
Gas station tiger is not a phrase I've ever encountered, and I'm in love with
I was
it.
gonna say that's an extremely Louisiana phrase. I figured he was gonna explain it, but I'm familiar. I'm familiar. I long ago, nothing related to anything close to my long ago dated somebody at Tulane and learned about the
yeah. Yeah. But so right now, like LSU would probably push first for soccer scholarships.
Hmm.
And then maybe years later rugby.
Yeah.
And big cat taming scholarships.
Well, we
it's
already
completely news to me
LSU
that
already
LSU
has
isn't correct.
the vet school if you want to do big cats, because we do have a tiger on campus that lives in basically a palace for
Yeah. Yeah.
It is awesome.
I had no idea. I had no idea LSU soccer wasn't NCAA. It doesn't matter. That's not for the podcast. I just had no idea.
And yet, in the Curry Cup, the Griffins don't have a Griffin anywhere. It's
no
so
Griffins anywhere. It's so annoying. And there isn't a single free Jack.
There might be. I'm not sure. I actually have a nice little bit of tidbit for our grassroots. Our junior Jacks, the Free Jacks Academy for the 16 to 20 squad, they just finished a little mini tour of Wales. They played Christ College Brecon. Is it Brecon?
Brecon,
and
yeah.
Bridgend College.
Brecon.
And we won both of them. Julia, is that at last the death knell for rugby in Wales?
Think so. I think when you lose to a bunch of Bostonian children, it's over. It's over. They're not pronouncing their R's. They're flipping you off. They're whipping a battery at you.
They all have dunks.
They all where's your donkeys? And nobody in Wales knows what that means. It's over.
To be fair, we might have a couple kids from Connecticut in there.
Oh, same accent, unfortunately.
The place of the worst beer in the United States.
Well, my friends, any last thoughts before we call a full lid?
No, see you guys soon.
I don't think we have any predictions to do for this coming weekend.
No, not yet.
We do not.
Wow. But the
Hopefully,
World Cup
hopefully
right
off
around the corner.
sub sevens.
As always, thanks to Lee, Hugh, and the folks at Wrap. Thanks to all of you for coming along and watching or listening. We're on YouTube. We're on all the usual platforms for audio pods. We just hit 242 subscribers on YouTube. So if you could help us out by spreading the word, that would be phenomenal. Thank you to everyone again for joining us. We're getting geared up for the World Cup, though we haven't actually discussed how we plan to approach that. So while we get
We
our act
need
together,
something to talk about between now and then.
I know, exactly. And there will be a lot, I think. So check our socials for updates and previews of what that might look like. We literally have no idea, but I'm sure we'll chat about it. So until next week, cheers. Thanks to all of you, and be well.